Hello, this is Bob Joyner, and in this video I'm going to review a dozen of the Ichimoku swing trading stocks that were in the aggressive portfolio before that service ended. And I've placed an arrow, and then I'm just going to go over the trades real quick. But for those who are not familiar with Ichimoku, this is another reason I want to make the video, is just to kind of introduce you to some of the principles of Ichimoku. If you're not familiar with it, this area here is called the Kumo, which means cloud. There are several different moving type averages. I'm not going to go into details about what those averages are in this video, but you have Tenkan-sen, which is this red line, Kaijin-sen, which is this kind of a white line here. And I've changed the default setting and made the Chiku, or the lagging span, this purplish line right through here. So just going to go through these trades real quick. These are in alphabetical order. CCL, you can see where my entry was here as price kind of moved up above the Kumo. For a bullish trade, we want to stay above the Kumo, and you can see where price went up a little bit, came back and dipped back down, but found support on the critical Kaijin-sen here. But actually darted below the Kumo, the daily Kumo, there for a little while, and then popped back up again. So it's made a profit. As long as Tenkan-sen is staying above Kaijin-sen, I would not be too worried. Price is staying above the daily Kumo, but we obviously prefer for this Kumo area to be kind of, ascending in strength, and we may be ready to have a conversion for that to start to happen, but it's kind of an on again off again trade here. Has offered some profit so far. Next one up is CTRP. The green arrow again shows my entry point on this candle here, and you can see how price is just continuing to stair step higher and has made some nice profits and hit some targets. Price again staying above the daily Kumo. Tenkan-sen crossed over the Kaijin-sen back down here inside the Kumo. A more bullish reading of that is when this crossover occurs above the Kumo, and a bearish would be when that crossover occurs below the Kumo. But you can see what that one has done nicely. Chiku span staying above the historical price curve there. CVC entry was this candle right in here. Again, price for the most part staying above the Kumo, with Chiku staying above the historical price curve, but again just kind of a flat Kumo here, as you can see, not really making that ascending line that we want to see, and but price finding support and making a little bit of profit there, but not a great deal. DFT was a long trade, again into the trade as it pushed up above the daily Kumo, made some nice profit, and it's come back down to test the top of the Kumo. This is a good example here. When you have a flat line of the Kumo here, price tends to push up through those flat lines, and that tends to be a line of support. As you can see, we've had several candles come down and test that line again in the past week, but so far that is finding support, but that would be a critical line to watch for that stock. Next up would be GPI. A great move by GPI. This is our entry way back in here towards the end of April, and you can see how Chiku has just stayed above the historical price curve, and price is finding support along this Tenkan-sen, which is the red line. And that's the ideal type of trade we want to see, is where price is finding support upon that ascending Tenkan-sen. Again, you can see how Tenkan-sen crossed over the Kaijin-sen, another bullish crossover there, and then price just stayed above that. So that one's hit targets, multiple targets, and continued to trade higher. So nice trade there. HST has been kind of just bumping around, for the most part staying above this Tenkan-sen, but this trade is just not a very volatile trade and doesn't offer a lot of profit. So one of those examples where it's good just to take some profit when you see it, unless you just like the slow and steady grind. We do have Tenkan-sen above Kaijin-sen. We have both of those lines above the ascending Kumo, so nothing bearish about that trade at all, but one that just doesn't offer a lot of momentum, so nothing wrong with just taking some profit there. Looking at our next trade, JCI. JCI was an entry back down in here, as you can see, and it was a little bit of a risky trade because price Ichimoku had just crossed through the historical price curve right up in here when I entered the trade, and price had jumped above the Tenkan and Kijin Sens, but we were below the Kumo. So normally I don't do that, but one of the things I mentioned in the analysis of that trade was the thin opening of a Kumo, which was above us here, and you can see where the thinning of the Kumo means a thinning of resistance, overhead resistance, and price took advantage of that thin area of resistance and continued to push high, and that one's another one that has met several targets and still doing well. LYV was an entry back down here at this candle, again staying above the Tenkan Sen, but you can see where today, of course, we had this big gap down after it has already hit some nice profit for us. But where it found support was right on the Tenkan Sen. Kind of interesting, and has popped up a little bit from that point there. P&K was another long entry over in here. You can see where price is above the Kumo, price is above the Tenkan Sen, Kijin Sen's down here, and we had this crossover bound down below the Kumo. Again, not the ideal place to have a crossover. We prefer that to be up top. But again, that one has gone on to make some nice profit already. Tiffany's was an entry back down in here. As you can see the green arrow, we were above the Kumo. This was prior to earnings, which is always a little bit risky, but price was above the Kumo. Chiku was above the historical price curve. We had the Tenkan Sen crossing above the Kijin Sen, again below the Kumo, so not as strong as we wish it to be. But again, it qualified as a long trade, and then we got this just really sweet gap up on earnings, and price just continues to push higher and to make even more profit. So nice trade there. TYC was another nice trade, continues to show profit. Entry was back down in here. Again, same scenario, price above the Kumo, price above the Tenkan Sen, and finding support along that line. It's just kind of interesting in Ichimoku trading how price all in ascending Tenkan Sen lines. That's what you're looking for. And if you're looking for another additional entry, you can always enter at the point of price touching that Tenkan Sen. If you like to do multiple entries, it's another way to trade that system. And then the last up would be XRX. Entry on XRX was way back here, and you can see it came down and challenged the Kijin Sen. But again, Chiku was above the historical price curve this whole way back, and that trade, of course, hit its first targets and has continued to move a little bit higher. Not a very volatile trade, not a very dynamic trade, but just a nice steady profit maker there. So that's a recap, just a real quick recap on Ichimoku swing trading, some of the stocks that are in that portfolio when that service ended, and just wanted to give an update. And for those who are not familiar with Ichimoku, just wanted to cover some of the things that you can see when you're using Ichimoku charts. Very great tool for trading, swing trading, and you can also use it for day trading purposes as well. All right, Bob Joyner here, and I hope that's helpful for you.